What is up, guys? I just want to make a little quick one-take video to talk about Throne Liberty in general. My thoughts, kind of like a review of me playing this for hundreds of hours in the Korean region. As you can see, I'm playing it right now. And I have definitely some thoughts, seeing as the open beta in the West is coming up next month. I feel like I should talk about a few things about this. And right, why should you listen to me? I'm gonna start with that. Well, I was in 1 HP Alliance. I was specifically in 1 MP. It wasn't a casual guild, but it was, we didn't have mandatory attendance and all that. We didn't push as hard as everybody else did, but we did show up, for the fights and everything. I was one of the healers in the very first siege of the game, one of the biggest stages. It was 2,300 people. On our side, we were like a little bit over 600, I believe. So trust me when I say this, I'm not some random person. I do have experience in this game. I have played this thoroughly. We have played PvPs. My character's geared, all that good stuff, right? I got almost 100% extra skill heal, and I haven't played this character in months because I kind of stopped in March, but I did play the beta, the Western beta in April, and now I'm picking it back up a little bit so I can see what's coming up with the 3v3 arenas coming. There's a new weapon coming out in Korea soon, I believe, and the new region over there at the north as well. I believe it's called Talande, something like that. Alright, let's start with the big elephant in the room, which is pay to win. Right? Is this game pay to win? Absolutely. Right? If somebody tells you no, it isn't, he's lying. Right? It absolutely is, because you can go to the store, which I'm going to show you just in a second, and then you can whip up your credit card and you can purchase Lucent right here at the bottom, right here. What is Lucent, you ask? Well, this is the paid currency which is used at the special shop and the auction house, and that's where the pay to win comes in, and I will explain it briefly. So to give you an idea, this package right here is, I believe, $100, around that. The value is like almost 100,000 Korean won, which is around $100, right? So you buy this from NCSoft, right? And what you get is the paid currency. You do not get items. I need to stress this out. NCSoft is thankfully not selling any weird, overpowered items. These are just skins they're selling you for the weapons, right? If you buy this, it is not a weapon. It doesn't give you any stats, right? It just makes your bow look like this, right? Or your daggers look like this, right? This is fine. This is fine, and I want even more of these because these are badass and I like them a lot, and a lot of people buy them, and this is a great way to generate money for your game. Alright, so why is this game pay to win? Because with that premium currency you just bought, you go to the auction house, and there you can buy weapons and gear and everything else, right? You can buy, this is called an extract. It's basically an upgrade for your weapon. So if you have the specific weapon, right, or this one for example, you buy these and you plug them into your weapon and you make it more powerful. This is where the pay to win comes in. Somebody with a lot of money can come in, buy a bunch of paid currency, and if, this is a very important part, I feel, if there's enough of these, or even any in some cases, right, he can purchase these and get a small edge over people that are not doing that, right? So if you cannot, afford to buy this, there's no way to generate this in the game. And let me explain this. So there's no quests or other activities that will give you lucent besides the siege, the castle siege, right? It's a complicated system, but please bear with me. This tax rate, 22%. What happens is when something sells, 22% of it goes into the castles. Actually, 20% is gone. 2% goes into the castle's tax rate, which means there's a treasure box in the castle that you capture in the game. You can go and siege it every 2 weeks, right? So there's a reward for whoever gets the castle, right? And part of that reward is the paid currency. But all that lucent, all those paid items, the paid currency, it comes from people that bought it from NCSoft, right? So there's no other way but your credit card to get these. As a free-to-play player, you can get these by selling items on the auction house, right, to other players. But those other players have to get that lucent somewhere. So the source of that is somebody that bought them from NCSoft. So that's where the pay to win comes in. However, I feel it's very important to stress out that there is both a limit and a very small gap between somebody that has done this and somebody who doesn't, right? Also very important is to mention that if you want, for example, this, what is it? It's a great sword, I believe. You want some of the very expensive items in the game, right? They might not even be available. Like, I can't find them right now. And what I'm trying to say is, for example, this, the Queen Bellandir's Annihilation crossbow. That is 120,000 lucent. That translates to around 12 to 1300 US dollars. Here's the thing, there's only one up for sale. So even if you had a lot of money and you wanted to buy this, and you bought this, right? You went to NCSoft and you bought, you know, all the lucent, and you came here and you bought this. You buy it from another player. So this guy selling it could very well be a free-to-play player. He's selling this bow for this much because he knows he's very rare. It's very rare, right? And it can pull this price, probably, right? If somebody's very desperate, he can get this. Here's the thing. I feel for all my gamer friends out there in the West, are all the MMO players that are going to give this game a chance, I feel it's very important to stress out that this bow is not something that's going to make you one-shot people magically, right? You're not even going to be able to upgrade it. Let's say right now you went and spent $1,300 and bought this. You only have this base item. It has slots on it, traits is what they're called, that you have to upgrade, right? And to do that, you need multiple of these weapons. And you can't really do that if they're not available, is what I'm trying to say. So there is a limit, even 7 months into the game, to these very rare world boss items. And even people with a lot of money, you can't really get your hands on these, right? Also, it is very important to stress out that they changed the game quite a bit, and now you get a lot of the items from the co-op dungeons, right? From the special dungeons. So the T2 gear, the tier 2 purple gear that they implemented, you can only get these from the dungeons, as far as I know. Like, some of the best in slot items come from the dungeons, so even if you did want to swipe, you're not going to be able to buy these from people because they're untradeable. They drop from the boss when you kill it, and there's no way to trade them, as far as I know. There's other ways, I believe, to craft them, but still you cannot buy your way into these items, as far as I know. If I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Sometimes I'm stupid, actually very often, but hey, here we are. But okay, so that out of the way, this game has other issues, in my opinion. In the Western closed beta, unfortunately, we ran into speed hackers and stuff like that. Unfortunately, that's a thing. There's also a very big problem here in Korea, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the West as well, with macros, right? So, for example, there's a skill, is like a block skill you have, right? So there's a macro, or like a bot, I don't know what it is exactly, that automatically casts this when something or somebody in PvP especially is where the big problem is, right? Nobody really cares if you block this mob's attack with the macro. So in PvP, people are using macros, and there's also bots. Thankfully, a lot less. However, now the bots have transitioned into gathering resources. For example, down here, if I go, there's a lot of resources down here that you can gather, and very often you're gonna see bots running around trying to gather these resources. They go from node to node, and they try to gather. I'm trying to catch one on camera, hopefully, but I don't know. Maybe it's in another, another spot right now, and I can't find it, but it's fine. You get my point, though. That is one of the game's issues, quote unquote, right? Hopefully those are fixable relatively easily. I'm hoping NCSoft or Amazon here in the West is gonna hire at least one GM per server, so we can have at least some form of an actual human's input on things happening. I'm not holding my breath though, because I know these things are expensive. Solutions are expensive, and they usually don't. Companies don't opt for those, and it's somewhat understandable. At the same time, it's very unfortunate because GMs could easily make this game 300 times better by just being there and helping people out with any issues they have, or catching exploiters, hackers, whatever, botters in the act and getting rid of them on the spot, so they're not affecting gameplay. But yeah, okay. With that out of the way, here's my personal issue with this game. It is right now, for me, 8:30 in the evening. So at 9, there's a bunch of quests that are gonna start. There's a bunch of events, right? In-game events. The game has a schedule. It has an in-game schedule where things happen every 30 minutes, 1 hour, stuff like that. It's a world event, it's PvP event, it's everything, things are happening on a schedule in this game, and that is part of what I really do not like. World bosses spawn at a specific time. You know what time it's going to be, and you have to be there on time. So the game puts you in this treadmill, so to say, of going from timed event to timed event. Every 30 minutes, an hour, I don't know, they're slowing it down, I heard a little bit. Even if it's 2 hours apart, it still doesn't change the fact that, let's say I just came back from work and all I want to do is PvP. There's no such thing for me. I have to wait for the next PvP event, which is, I guess this is the Festival of Fire. I assume this is going to be a PvP event. It might be Peace. I'm not too sure about this one. It has 2 versions. That's why I'm not sure. So, what I'm trying to say is, inevitably, some people are not going to be able to do some content because it happened an hour ago, or it's in 2 hours, but in 2 hours they can't be online, right? They got things to do. Now, some of you are going to say, if you're busy and stuff, maybe you shouldn't be playing MMORPGs. I hear you, but that's not the solution, right? That's not where the issue is. The issue is not with the user on this one. The thing is, this game has a schedule and you gotta follow it, and especially because the very first siege is going to be involved with whichever a guild gets rank 1. It means you're going to be grinding for the first few weeks of the game, literally non-stop. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that you don't get to choose, right? If you wanna do something, if you're gonna get like the maximum value, that's usually the PvP events, and those don't come very often. And especially for a game that boasted itself as a PvP oriented game, I want to say you do maybe, let's say, 80% PvE and the rest is PvP, right? There's no open world PvP like it was in Lineage 2. It's only in open world dungeons. They consider this island an open world dungeon, by the way. So for example, this island at night becomes a PvP zone, and so do all these other dungeons that they have. There's another entrance to another one, Temple of Silaveth down here. So at nighttime, in-game nighttime, of course, those become PvP areas. But right now, it's all peaceful, right? Nobody can PK me. I cannot PK anyone. It kind of limits, in my opinion, the emergent type of gameplay. I personally, look forward into games like this. I prefer things happening organically, right? The enemy guild is on. They talk some shit. We caught them lacking in some spot grinding. Now it's on. We're fighting them, right? It's not like, oh, they've been talking shit to us for a week, and this event, this PvP event is about to start, right? So let's go there and kill them. It kind of like limits it, right? It limits the emergent gameplay. It's not organic anymore. They know you're gonna be there. There's no element of surprise. You can pretend you're not gonna go, but inevitably they're gonna know that, it's a PvP event. Expect PvP, right? That's the only way you can PvP in the open world, and those events only last for 30 minutes. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're a PvPer, you're gonna run into this problem. You're not gonna be able to PvP for 4 hours straight before you go to bed, because it's not possible. You're gonna have to wait for the next PvP event, and that next PvP event, maybe it's in 5 hours from now. And you just did one for 30 minutes, and then you gotta do other things. The game pushes you to do other things. It puts you on a schedule to do world bosses, other events, go here, do contracts, do your dailies, and all that. And that is, in my opinion, one of the things that the Western audience is not really gonna like. I don't think it's gonna be so much the pay to win. The gap is very, very small. Let me actually show you my gear and show you what I mean by the gap is gonna be very small. Like for example, my weapon, which is not even fully traded. See, it says heavy attack chance on it, right? Right here in the trait. All right, so have it. You can put 4 in here, so that's gonna be 80 heavy attack chance total. 80 heavy attack chance is 8%. It's literally not that big of a deal, right? So if somebody maxes these out because they paid to get more of these weapons or traits for these weapons and they plug it in, right? They're not gonna one-shot you. They're gonna have a very tiny edge over you. Also, the gap is +9. The max level, like the enchant level, is +9. So eventually that person's gonna hit the gap, the skill cap. I keep saying gap instead of cap. I'm sorry, guys. So eventually the guy that's paying, to get there faster is gonna hit the cap, and then you eventually are gonna catch up. And I should rather say inevitably gonna catch up, because they keep adding catch up mechanics into the game all the time. For example, they add a new contract rewards that you can craft gear with. So you just do your dailies pretty much, and then you craft like better gear. You're inevitably gonna catch up to somebody that's paying. He's just gonna get there just a little bit faster, and the gap is, trust me, not that big of a deal. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I played in the Siege, completely free to play. I was a healer, of all things. I've never run into anybody in the time I played this game where I was like, oh my god, that guy spent so much money on this game. He's just like one-shotting me every time. It just didn't happen. It's very group-oriented PvP. It's very like guild versus guild, like a Zerg versus Zerg, I should say. right? So that time, that the advantage they get, where they got this item fully traded before you, it becomes absorbed in the group. Now in 1v1 situations, or like in the arenas that are coming up, it's probably gonna make a bigger difference, I'm not gonna lie. And like I said, it is a pay to win game, so we'll see how it fares here in the West. I want to end this with saying it is absolutely a worth game. You know, it's worth playing this. Like, it's gonna be free to play, and even more so, it's gonna be open beta on July 18th. So give it a shot. Like, get your buddies. Like, if you have friends you play regularly, or you did play MMOs with, then you're absolutely gonna have a blast in this. It's very group oriented. It rewards groups. The guilds are basically designed for group play. They have rewards and benefits depending on, you know, how high your guild level is. So the more you play with your friends or with your guild, the better of a time you're gonna have. All of you. Like, if you finish one of the guild quests, everybody in the guild gets rewards. So it's really designed with group play in mind, and any individual edge somebody might get by swiping like a bunch of thousands of dollars, it's just going to be diminished very fast, especially if he's going against a group of people, which usually is the case in this game. Like, don't expect fair fights in this. It's a numbers game, absolutely. There was a big issue with Zergen, which in my opinion was a lot bigger than any pay to win issue I've ever come across in this. I've never felt like somebody had an unfair advantage because they bought something off of the auction house with real money. Mainly because I know that money went, all the money they spent was turned into paid currency, which was in turn given to somebody else that actually plays the game. So yeah, I hope this helps. Sound off, in the comments. Let me know what you guys think, what you've seen. I'm not saying this game is not pay to win. Please don't misunderstand me. I just think the game has other issues that are way more important than focusing on pay to win. And I'm gonna also say one more last thing. People here in the West are gonna hear pay to win and they're gonna immediately think there's some cash shop where you go and buy items from the company and you become overpowered and you're gonna be killing everybody and be unstoppable. I guarantee you that is not gonna be the case. As soon as people start doing dungeons, you're gonna be farming those every day. You're gonna get geared. That person is gonna buy the gear from you. If anything, whoever swipes in this game is probably gonna fund your future gear. So I think it's a more fair system than, let's say, having people buy items on G2G or something like that, right? RMT. That money doesn't go to the company. The players don't really benefit from that money being spent either. So I think on that front, it's designed better. Would I prefer it if it didn't exist at all? Absolutely. If AGS or NCSoft manages to pull this off by either letting us generate somehow loosened in the game, or altering, or I don't know, maybe even taking the system off completely, listen, I'm gonna be the first one to be happy about it, because one way or another it creates a little problem, and if it doesn't exist, it's even a better time for everybody. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching. If you stick all the way to the end, please subscribe, it helps a lot. Leave a like, say something under the video, and I'll see you in the next one.